Good afternoon. This is Bakes, Kevin Baker with Bakes Takes. Welcome to my podcast. This is Saturday, February 13th. Hope you had a great week. A lot to talk about. Let's get right into it. Number one, YOLO, the ETF. I was bullish cannabis before it was cool, and that's pre-Reddit, so we'll talk about that some more. Number two, Bitcoin goes corporate big time. And number three, EVs need copper. More on that. Why I do this? Real quick, my two sons, Bobby and Jack, they were in business programs in college, and they and their friends would fire questions at me when they were going to job interviews or doing projects. And why should they listen to me? Well, I went through the 87 crash. I've been doing this for 30 years, 2 mutual funds, 2 hedge funds, 2 institutional firms. And after the 87 crash, I became steeped in technical analysis, reading charts. I do a lot of fundamental work. I simply do technicals first, fundamentals second. It isn't right or wrong. It just works for me. You can make your own judgment. What works for you? Now, I read the things maybe you don't want to. The Journal, Barron's, The Economist. I listen to dozens of podcasts. I devour relevant newsletters. I monitor what my Google alerts bring me. And I point you to them. I always give attribution. But if you don't want to do that work, know that I'm doing it for you in the background. I eat home cooking. I have no conflicts. I only talk about things that I'm either invested in or interested in, and I'm very transparent, I hope. Now, my disclaimer, not investment advice. Please conduct and share your own due diligence. The more this becomes a community where we're putting more on the table than we take away, I think we're all going to have a lot of fun, hopefully make a lot of money, and grow and grow and grow. So, fan mail. My producer Mike asked about SFL Corporation, a tanker company that he has owned for a long time with his brother, and we've talked about this off and on, off camera and off the podcast. And I said, it looks okay, but there's really nothing going on until this week. That's my caveat. And why? The tankers transport oil and gas, in this case, oil mainly. And they can be very good stocks. I don't think they're great businesses, but they can be great stocks. And I'm always drawn to the volume. Again, that's SFL Corporation. SFL, Sam Frank Larry is the symbol. And I'm drawn, and if you're doing this audio, walking the dog, working out, I really ask you to go to the YouTube channel because the visuals help a lot, the charts. But the volume's picking up on the up days. And I know I sound like a broken record, but it works, folks. And I'm seeing this stock spend a lot of time between 6, 780 or so, and we're starting to creep above that. It's picking up, the volume's picking up, and if I see this stock above 814, which is the 200-day moving average, that's why I picked that level, and if I see it close above that on 2.5 million shares, I like to see 150% of average daily volume to show that there's something new going on. There's some new interest. There might be some short squeezed. I haven't looked at that. Mike, maybe if you can look at what the short story is here. I don't know what it is. I know that's become fodder for the Redditors. Let's look for the short squeezes. I think they're harder to find, as I talked about last week. But anyway, if you see 814 plus, 2.5 million shares, I think you're going north. I look to the weekly, and I see 1214 as a decent target. And when things are really good, now you need to have much higher oil prices. $30 was where the stock was back in '08. So that's what I see going on here. So my take, ESG or not, environmental, social, governance, I know, energy is a redheaded stepchild to many investors right now, but the fact is you're going to need oil and gas for a long time as we bridge to carbon neutral or carbon free futures. So for me right now, SFL looks promising. You see the short interest?
Short interest, we got current short volume, 3.18 million shares. Previous short volume of 3.4 million shares.
And how many's out? Shares out. Do you have that there? I know this isn't fair. I asked you to do this on the fly.
Outstanding shares, 107 million.
Okay, so the shorts, you're not going to have a short squeeze here. You know, if you have 10, 15, 20% of the shares out short, that's when you get into like the Tilrays this week in cannabis world, and you get the moonshots of the GameStop world where more than the shares outstanding were short, and you see these crazy kinds of things. And I think those are going to be really hard to find going forward. More on that later. And here's, I'm sending emails to you in essence, or fan mails to you. I'd mentioned this before, I think briefly, but maybe it was off camera. BlockFi and Gemini, they're Bitcoin exchanges, and they have credit cards where Bitcoin rewards replaces airline miles and what have you. And I'm on the waiting list for, I believe, Gemini. BlockFi, they don't even have a waiting list yet. And I wanted to ask your feedback. Do you have one? What are the pros and cons? But to me, if I can have a credit card where I pay it off every month and I've got Bitcoin as the rewards, I'm interested, big time. So I'd love to get your take. I haven't been able to get one yet. All right, and please share this with your Robinhood and your Reddit Rebellion friends. Send your stock ideas. Ask them to send their stock ideas, and I'll offer the strategy for them as well. I think I've been useful. You tell me if I have. Please stay tuned. Next segment is my themes and groups, and I'm chuckling. I'm seeing Rolling Stone. I'll tell you why I'm chuckling in a minute. Virginia lawmakers pass marijuana legalization bills. The governor, Ralph Northam's signature is forthcoming. Dispensaries could open in the state beginning 2024, while legalization could start as soon as this summer. I don't know why there's a 3-year lag there. This is from Daniel Krebs. He's the reporter. I want to give attribution, like I said. And like GameStop, I thought Rolling Stone was out of business. I'm stunned that I'm even seeing this, but. Be that as it may, Virginia decriminalized marijuana in July of 2020. If they pass this is going to be the first southern state to legalize that. It has 70% plus approval from the population of Virginia, and it will be the 16th state. So I think after the election, Mike, we talked about the 14th state dropping. Now we're talking about 16. And I just, this trend is going to be continuing because the states need revenues and they don't want to raise taxes and send more people to Austin, Texas, and more people to Miami. So marijuana is a great way to relatively painlessly bring in money that they desperately need. So here's YOLO, Y-O-L-O, a fortuitous stock symbol for an ETF. They probably chose it before this Yedit phenomenon occurred. This is the Advisor Shares Pure Cannabis ETF. It's the one that I prefer. The short interest is in the same here. We're in these other stocks. I think when I looked at Tilray, it was sort of a 20-30% kind of short situation. Substantial. But here, you're not relying on short squeezes to make your money, which I think is what you're doing in GameStop. Here, the macro trend is much better for longer, and so I'm sticking with YOLO. More on that in another segment coming down the road. Crypto Newsflash. I know you guys are fans of Crypto Newsflash. This is the kind of stuff I do for you folks. Obviously, related to everything crypto, and they wrote a story. This guy named Reynaldo wrote a story. Bitcoin FOMO resurfaces as over 6,000 companies attended MicroStrategy's conference. We talked about this last week. Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategy, held a forum 2 days, and 6,000 companies. I mean, CEOs and CFOs of 6,000 companies were basically given the playbook. Here's how you buy Bitcoin. Here's why you buy Bitcoin. Here are the tax and regulatory implications. Here's the accounting. Here's how you feather in versus buy in one fell swoop. So if he didn't create some buy orders down the road, I'll be astonished. So if you see dips, I think Bitcoin is going to be, you're going to have CFOs everywhere, calling up their new custodians that they found to take some percentage like Tesla did, of their treasury cash and moving it to Bitcoin. I think it is virtually irreversible. Never say never, but I don't see what stops this anytime soon. So I'm bullish on Bitcoin and GBTC. Which brings me to Crypto Potato. Bill Miller's fund to allocate $300 million to Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Bill Miller, legendary money manager, beat the S&P for 15 years straight. I don't think anybody has done that before or since. He has his own firm now, and is raising his hand. I don't know why he's doing that. Apparently, there's regulatory reasons. He needs the SEC to okay this, but he's saying, I want to have my fund buy $300 million of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. And why he doesn't buy Bitcoin directly, I don't know that either. If you have input, I'm all ears, as always. But GBTC is what I own, have owned, talked about, seems like ceaselessly, and it's been a big winner, continues to be. So my take is Bitcoin adoption is accelerating. It isn't even just continuing, it's accelerating. It seems like every week we have more dominoes falling here, and I think it's enjoyable. Chamath Palihapitiya tweeted out an image of the metals that Tesla needs to build 20 million cars per year. I don't know how many cars they do right now. Mike, if you have an idea, I'd love to know about it. But imagine when all vehicles are electric, the numbers get really extreme. So he brings up an excellent point. Not only does the U.S. need these metals, we need to decouple our reliance on China to get and use them. So copper is the one that catches my eye because I'm invested there. But there's others here on the table: cobalt, lithium, etc. Chamath obviously has a position, and I do too. Full disclosure. But the EV trend, this move to carbon neutrality, is going to create a great need for more copper and more of these other metals. And I think you can invest in Tesla, but you can also invest in the metals that go into Teslas. And I bring that up for your consideration. Yeah, Mike.
Looks like Tesla manufactured just under 500,000 vehicles in 2020.
Okay, so 20 million is a lot. So, all right, so this is not going to happen next Thursday, but obviously the trend is in place, and there's other great things going on in copper. Oh, which segues to the next chart. Boy, am I good at this. The Global X copper miners. This is the one that I've been invested in for a while. COPX is the symbol, in a very, very solid uptrend for all kinds of reasons. Obviously, COVID receding, stimulus, the economies, particularly in China, picking up. They're a big big copper consumer, and the housing market, electric wiring, and what have you. Copper is in a very bull trend. It's Dr. Copper is the best economist in my opinion, and so my take is the bullish factors piling up regarding copper continue apace. And I, bring up COPX or your favorite copper ETF for your portfolio, and give me your feedback. Tell me where you think I'm wrong. Next, podcasts of the week. This is Barron, Streetwise, Jack Howe, one of my favorites. I think he's funny, and very insightful. And he interviews Dan Aarons, who, as it turns out, is the portfolio manager for YOLO, the ETF that I just talked about. And as opposed to being passive and tied to an index like so many ETFs are, he's actively picking stocks within the ETF. And of course, highlights that his are sort of higher quality, making money or close to making money stocks versus some of the more speculative names that were flying around on the Reddit boards the other day. But he at the end of the podcast, he talks about buying alcohol stocks. This is like buying alcohol stocks at the end of Prohibition. Makes sense. But then he goes on, I didn't do this homework, he did. If you did that back at the end of Prohibition, you outperformed every industry ex-tobacco in the ensuing 20 years, let's say. So, and it just makes sense. You have this blue water where companies can come in and operate legally in the light and it's just a great opportunity that I think we have to take advantage of for at least the next 2-3 years. So my take is the spike this week, the Reddit-induced spike this week was extreme, and the pullbacks are going to be sharp and severe, but Prohibition is over for cannabis. It's just a question of how we get to the end legalization. And you don't need to have all 50 states legalize it to get there. You don't need to have the federal government legalize it. But, we're on a path to the cannabis companies prospering very, very nicely as we go forward. Now, my next one might be controversial, the All In podcast, which I talk about a lot. Jason Calacanis is the host mainly, but Chamath Palihapitiya, David Sachs, and David Freeberg are there. They're poker buddies, and they talk about investing, technology. Their election podcast was epic, in my opinion. But they brought on the CEO of Robinhood, Vlad. Do you remember his last name? I can't remember, Mike. But Vlad came on and did his best, because his first two efforts were horrible at explaining what happened with the
it's going to be Vladimir Tenev.
Tenev, thank you very much, Mike. And he gave the best, and I encourage you to listen to the whole thing, because it was the best explanation he's given to this point of what happened, why he had to halt trading, or the company had to halt trading, how they had to settle trades, why they had to raise $3.4 billion in 2 days, and all these kinds of things. My take was, I don't think Robinhood was out to screw you, because if you're a Robinhood account, because they need you to trade. If you're not trading, they don't make money. So the restrictions that came from the DTCC and their capital constraints and their growing pains caused the trading halts. I know you're still ticked off, and you feel like you were screwed, and maybe you were. Now, what I'm hearing lately from some of my best friends, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, are problems transferring accounts, and Robinhood's trying to go public, and the Reddit board is lit up with people really furious with the trading halts and trying to move their money to Fidelity and other accounts. And this is going to be interesting to watch. So, again, send me your stories, anecdotes. I'd love to relay the good, the bad, the ugly, and direct people to where they're having good experiences. And let's have the community weigh in so that you have the best trading experience you possibly can. My next segment, Newsletters of the Week, Bear Traps Report, one of my favorites, Larry McDonald, and Michael Burry, getting on the uranium train. Now, Michael Burry, as you've heard here before, he was in The Big Short. He's Bale. What is his first name?
Christian.
Thank you, Christian Bale, and starred in the movie. Did the Big Short, the housing market, and then did the big GameStop long before it was cool and before it was on Reddit. And now he has this quote, and I don't know where this quote was originally presented, but here it is. Michael Burry, if the government is going to spend $2 trillion, there is no better way than connecting the U.S. to nuclear. Speaker Pelosi, Senator Schumer, President Biden, Dems can do it. Jobs plus potentially limitless electricity, no greenhouse gas emissions. That's a pretty good summation of the bullish case for nuclear. And is he getting on the uranium train? I and Larry and the Bear Traps team are going to be looking at his 13D from the Burry Scion Fund to see where that is. But, look to the Reddit boards for uranium showing up, maybe more than it already has. So next, North Shore Global Uranium. It's my favorite. Bought it a while ago, back in July, I believe, of last year. URNM is the symbol, and it just continues to hit new highs on big volume. It is a great beneficiary of the uranium trend. which, again, I think has got 2-3 years to run. I could be wrong, and I'll have my sell tickets out if I need to, but it isn't today. Wall Street Journal this past week had a great story on mini and nuclear reactors, small modular reactors, offering cheaper, clean power. Daniel Michaels is the author here. And I guess what I take away is the image of Chernobyl, the image of 3 Mile Island is steadily, constantly moving into the rearview mirror, and these new, safer, smaller, more efficient, small modular reactors are coming to the fray. I mentioned before that Bill Gates is an investor in TerraPower, and perhaps their efforts are revived now with the changing of the administration. They had one that was about to go live in China back in 2015, I believe. It was put on hold. I could be mistaken about that. But so we're early with my take. We're early with small modular reactors, but they are part of the solution. It's good for uranium, and it's good for the environment. So whenever you have win-win-win scenarios like this, I want to be involved, and you decide if you want to be involved. Okay, that's the show. Please also subscribe to my Bakes Tubes YouTube channel. The audio is the same, but the charts that I reference are on the screen. Follow us on Twitter @BakesTakes_ and other social media. Please use your voice memo app. Tape your questions and email to bakes@BakesTakesPodcast.com, or write if you'd prefer. I'll keep you anonymous if you'd like. Thank you for listening. Mike Wilson is my producer. Have a great week. This is Bakes, and for much needed levity, this came out of the archives. Chris Farley, rest in peace. This is his bit with Adam Sandler on Saturday Night Live. Lunch lady. If this doesn't make you smile, then something's wrong. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.